Hey everybody, it's Nicole Dennis here from theparentpreneur.com. I'm laughing, we're giggling because I was like having technical issues backstage here behind the scenes. So I am really thrilled to be here today with Lorna Golombick. So I've known Lorna for quite a few years, and I really just wanted to get Lorna on and like kind of share a little bit about her business and entrepreneurial journey, because Lorna had been in business for a long time and kind of like struggling with that, running a clinic in the allied health space, and, you know, very, very difficult to make that profitable and things like that. And it can be really lonely. I've run my own businesses as well, consulting businesses, and it's when you're in that kind of a business where you're almost like a solopreneur, or you might have like a couple of staff or subcontractors, you don't really have, I found I didn't really have anywhere to go if I was struggling, had a bad day, needed like business advice, strategic advice, mentoring and things like that. And it can be really hard. Like there's the finance side of it that can be a struggle, but it can really be a struggle. You're kind of like all alone and don't have anyone to like lean on and things like that. So yeah, I met Lorna, and now she's involved in a community with me where it's all part of what we do in business, and it's like kind of got that supportive thing. So could you want to share a little bit about, kind of your business journey and the struggle that you were going through, Lorna, because it was like a financial struggle, and there was, you know, everything that came alongside of that.
Exactly. I mean, I love what I do, don't get me wrong. So I think I'm very, very blessed to be able to enjoy the work that I do and love the change that I can bring to people's lives in my clinic. And I sort of had this dream about having this amazing sanctuary for people and having all these services that they would be able to access, and, you know, had the whole Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. And sort of thought, you know, well, that relates to staff as well as to, clients, and certainly that did happen. I attracted people to work with me and attracted clients, but there was always this kind of I guess lack of traction, because there's just never enough hours in the day when you are working in the business. It doesn't leave a lot of time to work on the business. So you end up just exhausted because you're trying to do that out of hours, and then you're not getting enough sleep, and then you're not on your game for working with your clients. So there's just kind of like this never-ending, rolling roller coaster with it. And along with that also, I guess, is also just, where does your family fit in? So, you know, I had primary age school kids. I actually decided to start the business when my son started prep, because I thought, well, he'll be at school 5 days a week. You know, I can commit to that. And you never really fully appreciate how much being a business owner, it's not just 5 days a week, and it's not 9 to 5. And although I'd been a partner in another practice prior to starting my own, we had a lot of all of those structures already set up, because it sort of piggybacked off an existing practice. So, you know, yes, there was stuff I had to work on, but it was never solely my responsibility. And I think the big thing is just that it's all on your shoulders. And, you know, I'm a very positive person, so I would, you know, imbue that and use my gratitude space that I work in to work with my staff and everything. But, you know, I didn't have all the skill sets necessarily to be a business owner. And you sort of, you sort of assume that because you're good at what you do, that you'll be good at being a business owner. And it certainly doesn't add up that way.
No.
And I will say, you know, I love the staff that I worked with. You know, they all, you know, put their heart and soul into everything that they did. And when they had to leave, it was just for various reasons that were part of their own plan to progress in what they needed to do in their career. But I was continually searching for staff, and that meant that we were continually overbooking me. And it was just exhausting. So just this runaway train, really.
Yes, I think a lot of small business owners can relate to that, particularly in like the serving kind of professions, in, you know, healthcare and coaching and all of those kinds of things. And it's all those things you don't realize when you're a business owner. You've got the hat of being the person that actually does the service providing, like with clients on a table, treating them. But then you're like the CEO, the chief revenue officer. You got to write all the business systems, the business processes, payroll, HR, inventory, accounting.
All those things, and you're trying to keep all your costs down because you don't want it to be eating into whatever you might be making. But you know, part of the pain of that is that you know, I got to a certain point in the business where I was just battling to even just cover the costs of paying my bill obligations for the clinic and my staff, and I was barely drawing a wage, if any, some months. You know, when I actually look at my final tax return for when I was still owning the clinic, it was abysmal, you know, and it just kind of was a big shock when you look at that, because you tend not to look at that side of things because you don't want to feel resentful about what's going on. But when I actually looked at it, it was like, oh my goodness, you know, what am I doing? You know, I'm serving all these other people. And as I say, I love what I do, but it wasn't serving our family. And when I realized that I was actually, by giving to others, I was taking away from our family, it really hit home. So that was quite a challenging time. And I knew that I had to make some changes and try and, you know, sell the business. So, you know, I did manage to do that. So, you know, we had somebody who and bought the business, but they bought a percentage share, so I continued working. And unfortunately, I think, you know, different reasons, but things just never really got off the ground again. So I found myself sort of 18 months after that with my body breaking down. So that was kind of like the big alarm signals for me that, you know, something has to change big time. Oh goodness, let me just decline. That would happen.
I know, it comes in through the computer. It's annoying, isn't it? When it does that, it's like I turn my phone on silent, and then it like pings you. Yeah. So I think, you know, a lot of small business owners struggle with that. I know when we had a small business, it was the same. It was like hours and hours. Justin, my husband, was putting into it, and he really wasn't like getting paid. He would have been better off to like go and like, you know, just get a regular kind of like job. And it would have been less stressful as well. He would have like removed all that stress, and he actually would have like had more money at the end of the week. So I think it's something a lot of business owners can definitely relate to. So at that point in your journey, we kind of like started working together, and you started to look at other ways to generate an income, because you kind of wanted to have the way to free up time. And it did start to pay you kind of more than what you were earning out of your traditional business. But it also brought you into like a community where you weren't all alone anymore. Because I think that's one of the things that when people go into business, particularly if they've come from like kind of a workplace where they have colleagues and different things like that, they don't realize how lonely it can be being a business owner or a solopreneur. So share a bit about what that was like, and, you know, how that's kind of changed how you feel, even though it's not the only thing that you do as part of our community, but it's you kind of have that there to lean on now.
I think probably it's sort of that sense, probably the first step with all of that is just the acceptance of everybody for where they're at. And I think also the ability to be real with people and not have to put on this mask that everything is fine and it's amazing, and, you know, because you don't want to sort of let people know that actually things aren't going so well from that side of things. I think the sense of community was also around, there were finding lots of other people that were struggling as well, and just us all supporting each other in, you know, those difficulties. And I think the other thing was also just meeting like-minded people who are all committed to their personal development. That has probably been the most massive part of my journey. When I started just getting involved in that personal development side of things, it just opened up the doors to so many other avenues of thought around how businesses can actually operate and how we can actually help others and help ourselves, and that we deserve to be paid our worth as well. I think that was a big thing as well, as the money mindset side of things that comes through working with others when you're in a community that everybody is moving forward and looking at growing together. And also just the meeting new people. I think that's it. You can get very stuck in your little circle. You become the sum of the 6 people you spend the most time with. And when you branch out, you start finding that there's other energies that can come into your life and other people that you connect with, and that can serve different purposes in terms of your relationships as well. So I think that's been very special. The other part to it, I think, has also been the ability to give back. So because of our community actually doing fundraising and underpinning organizations that are, you know, helping to provide fresh water in Cambodia for villages that haven't had anything, and, you know, working with Operation Underground Railroad with sex trafficking side of things, that just the ability to make a difference with that, even if you're only able to put in, $1 a month or something like that. I think being able to see the difference that is being made on that level when, I'm one of those people that is quite service orientated, but when your own basic needs are not being met, it's a challenge to think about how you might do that. So I think that's the other thing the community has done, is just made it really easy to give where is needed, and to hear from that side of things as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think, that's just such an important part, and people are missing that community of like-minded people, a lot of people in their life. And it's great to have that there, to just have people to go, oh, look, I'm really stuck on this. Can you help me out with this? And, and different things, and just bounce ideas around. So since you kind of got introduced to this, your journey has evolved, and you've also changed what you're doing in your practice and how you're working, and you're taking more time and having more boundaries around your work, which is a beautiful thing. So how did this whole process, was this a big influence on it, like being involved in this community to allow you to kind of have that growth to step into a new way of being in your regular day-to-day life? And I know you just took the school holidays off for the first time, a lot of the school holidays.
That's right. So absolutely, looking at what others are doing and seeing what's possible. I think that's it is, it's very easy when you see success stories, if you haven't had a connection with people behind the scenes to know where they've come from and what they've gone through, sometimes you don't appreciate and think that, oh, well, they've got it easy, they do this and they do that. But, behind every story is a struggle, I believe, Nicole. And just seeing other people in our community overcome their struggles, and just looking at the example of others that have mentored me as well, so yourself included and your husband Justin included as well. It just, those questions that are asked of you every time you're stepping up to a challenge, every time you look at a new way to do things. I sort of think of it almost kind of like a bit of the chemistry process where you sort of distilling information. And so, each little level that we're working on, each little program or challenge that we're doing is just kind of distilling us that little bit more and fine-tuning what we're able to offer to the world. So when I actually look at the decisions that I've come to make, there's been this sort of pathway all the way along. And the biggest part to it, which was working with you last year, Nicole, was just looking at how much this can get in the way. Just, just between your ears. And you'll hear said in a million different self-help books, personal development books, whatever you will, business books, all that sort of thing. But it really is so important for us to just look at being able to get out of our own way. And instead of focusing on what you're locked into, considering the possibility of what could be. And there've been a couple of other programs along the way, which our lovely friend Janine has run, Bob was Born Rich program. That was very instrumental in starting to change mindset around what could be, what I would like to create in my life, along with some of the other books that have been recommended, some community book groups that we've set up and worked through looking at various things. And then probably the final piece in the puzzle for me was an epigenetic health coaching course I did last year, which clearly kind of just set these parameters and showed me the way I've been trying to live is not the way that my biology wants to live. And the way my biology wants to live is, if I can honor that, including when I do things, what time of day I do things, and what activities I do at those times of days, then my ability to be happy, healthy, and productive will be able to be unlocked. So, all of those things kind of have culminated together, probably along with a very big birthday at the end of last year. So just made me kind of look back, reconsider all those pieces and influences. And it was around October, November last year, I started seeing that my online bookings were already starting to fill for this year. And I just sort of thought, that feels quite restrictive to me. I need to be able to plug in looking after myself first, because if I don't look after myself, then I'm not going to be able to look after others. And that, if you'd asked me that 2 years ago, even a year ago, felt selfish to me. And so just being able to be applauded that, busy is not a good status symbol to be using, but balanced actually is what I'm looking for. And so what that feels like and looks like in this year is that I've taken back control of my schedule and can further define when I choose to do what different activities and how that looks and how I can help people. So I recognize I can't help every single person in the world. I'd love to be able to, but I really need to look at helping few people a little bit at a time.
Yeah. And it's been beautiful to see you like put yourself first, and you like, you know, what you want to do, spend time with your family and take that time. I remember we talked about that a lot last year, and it was like, you know, really encouraging you to take that time. And I think that is, people do wear like busy and like overworked and overstressed as like, it's like, think that that's how you should be. And like, there's definitely a lot of that in entrepreneurial circles and business, like hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's like, to me, that's not a symbol of success. If your life is like that, I'm like, well, that's not what I would call successful. Like, it's like having that, like, you know, I still love to work. I love what I do too, but it's like, it's within a balance, and like, so that there is a lot of time in my day and my week for the other things that are important to me as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's also, you realize, I mean, my kids are in high school now, and you just have that realization that, oh my gosh, you had this assumption that they'd be living with you forever, and maybe they will be, who knows? But
hopefully not forever, right? Like,
not forever, exactly. But you know, they're going to spread their wings, and you know, when you're only able to chip out little bits and pieces of time for them in school holidays, as they grow and mature, they want to be able to go places and see things and do things. So being able to take that time out to be with them, and have their friends over, get to know their friends a little bit, that was really, really special. And, you know, my decision to take, I took 3 solid weeks off, and then for the remaining couple of weeks of the school holidays and the first week of term, I only worked 2 days a week. And that was kind of like a breath of fresh air. I was ready to work by then. Like, I was probably, you know, like, can only have so much time at home, sort of thing. So it was good to sort of see where that balance sits, and then looking at sort of maintaining what we do with that, working through the rest of the year. Will be interesting to see how that materializes and how that feels in my life and shows up in terms of further business development and growth as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's great to see, you know, the evolution that you've had, Lorna, and you did take a chance on doing something new several years ago. So what would you say to people if they, you know, a lot of people are struggling right now, a lot of people's income has been affected, their employment, or, you know, they've just, like, this whole global pandemic has just made people realize that they're not really happy with how their life is, and it's made a lot of people just like reassess how they're living. So what would your advice to people be that are like maybe at a bit of a crossroads and looking for something?
I think it's really important for everybody just to sort of sit down and just evaluate all the different aspects of their life and how they feel about that. There's lots of evaluations you can do that, but I like the one which has got sort of the wheel, which you sort of liken to being an inflated tire, that everything is scoring 9 to 10 out of 10. You've got a nice round wheel, but if you've got 1 out of 10 on some of the things, you're going to have a really bumpy ride. And so evaluating where those deficiencies are in terms of how your life is and how you'd like it to look, and then sort of drilling down on that to see, well, you know, look at other people around you and look at others that you sort of think might be doing something that you think you might like or that you resonate with them, and just reaching out and asking for their input, you know, getting lots of different bits of advice and then doing your own research behind that as to what's going to be a good fit for you. I think in particular, you know, in the online space, there are plenty of opportunities, but I think it's really important to check into them and look at the sort of the ethics and the ethos behind businesses that you might be looking to get involved with, because that's something certainly with our community that I think is probably one of the most massive contributing factors to the way we feel about our community, is just that the ethos behind it of just, you know, putting others first over our need for, you know, driving our businesses forwards. It's all about being community orientated. And I think that when you find your home with something like that, it's magic. So just for people to do their research and make sure that they're not just jumping into something without really sort of having their eyes open, because there's so many different offers of things out there that people can look at. And I think people are particularly vulnerable at the moment, so they will need to be cautious. But at the same time, you don't want to be so cautious that you stuck frozen and don't ever change what you're doing. I think we have to be adaptable in the current environment. And, you know, with what I'm doing with my work, aside from the fact that I know that, you know, my hands and my wrists and my shoulders can't last forever doing what I do, it's all, I'm sort of evolving what I'm offering in terms of being really holistic with people. So that way it also starts empowering them to be able to help themselves. So, yeah, Look
That's
for your
awesome.
passions. Look what you love doing. Like if you could get paid for doing what you love doing, but you're not doing it at the moment, then what would that look like, and how can you sort of tweak that to become more part of your life? So
Yeah.
I love the great questions. What do you want more of in your life? What do you want less of in your life? And then look at where those two trails lead you, and hopefully find a good crossroad of decisions there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like getting that support and mentoring and guidance along the way. It's like, it's so helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you want to connect with Lorna, you can find her on Facebook, and you also have a Facebook group as well, the Happy and Healthy group. We are Happy and Healthy group, so you can go over and connect with Lorna over there. She has lots of great wisdom about many things, with many years of professional experience. So yeah, she's definitely a wealth of knowledge, and offers in-person services as well as like personalized health coaching as well, like to do with your epigenetics, which is pretty amazing. So thank you so much for being here, Lorna. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole. I really loved it. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.